Kate Fairmaid here from Bailey's in Queenstown. You're joining me today for episode 4 of our What If series. I'm very fortunate to have Lisa joining me from Valuation Partners. Hi Lisa.
Hi.
So what if last year you valued my section and my build here in Queenstown? I then started the build, but then unfortunately prior to settlement the market did change negatively. And I'm essentially worried that my valuation or my final valuation may be affected by that. Can you tell me what the process is from here and if it will or will not be affected?
Yes. So the construction valuation process is sometimes misunderstood, so I'll run you through that really briefly. So initially we start off by doing a construction valuation, and that involves valuing the land or the site as is. And then we also do a second value, which is as if complete. So that includes looking at your plans, your level of specification, elevations, just how the property will look. And we basically value it as if it was built today, what it would be worth. And then you go and start building, and throughout the building process you might need a progress payment to pay your builder. And so we might be called out during the build to do a progress assessment. And that's essentially a short report that we send to the bank saying it's 30% built, so far it's worth this much, and then they can draw down your progress payment. And then at the end of the build, we're often asked to go back and do what's called a completion report. And a lot of people think we're going back to revalue it, but that's not the case. We're going back to essentially say to the bank it is complete. And we're being their eyes and ears and saying it's been built as per the plans, as per the specifications, the same size, that sort of thing. And then the key thing for the bank is to say that it has achieved the value we put on it initially.
Right, okay.
And 90% of the time that does happen. But occasionally it doesn't happen. And it's important that if that happens, people don't panic. There are ways and means around it. That's when you start talking to your mortgage broker and those sorts of scenarios. So if it hasn't achieved its value, then we would go back to the bank and say, look, it hasn't. And in that instance, they might then request another valuation. Okay, so following on from that, is there anything that could affect the final valuation that we need to be aware of? Sure. So it's really important that the finished product is what we valued originally.
Right, okay.
So what we really make sure that when we go into that original valuation, everything that you want included, the deck, the gazebo, any special features, you have to be 100% sure that you're going to include those and get them built at the end. Because if we turn up at the end to do a completion and those things aren't there, it's going to cause a problem. Right. So we do make a real point of checking with people if they want to include those things. The other thing is the level of specification. It's really important that you build what you say you're going to build, and it's better to under-promise and over-deliver with those sorts of things.
So I've also noticed there could have been a few stress sales or 1 or 2 stress sales in my area that I live in, and I'm worried that that's going to have an effect on the value of my property. Does it?
Valuers have to be really careful not to hang their hat on one sale.
Right.
Yeah. So as I said at the beginning, we have to really look at quite a wide range of sales. And particularly in a time of uncertainty, we've had some of that recently, it's really important that we don't hang our hat on one early sale. So we're really spending a lot of time at the moment analysing the sales, really finding out what's going on behind them, and if there have been some distressed sales, we're really taking into account a lot of other sales as well as that. So it's really important not to pay 100% of your attention to one distress sale.
Okay, great. And just lastly, to avoid these issues we've recently discussed, what can I do to build from the offset more cost effectively?
Good question. One of the key things I think is building slightly smaller if you can't afford it at the moment, and that's possible with really good design. So one of the things we do is we do sit down with people and look at their plans and tell them the features of their home that are going to add value and those that really aren't adding value. So for example, I recently went through some plans with someone who had 7 metres of hall, and if you work that out at $3,000 a square metre, they're looking at $21,000 worth of just space.
Good point.
And it's possible to still have all your features in your rooms without a very long dark hall. So good design's really key at this point, and it might mean that you can reduce the actual size of your build. There are other ways. If people still really want to build, they can look at building in stages and possibly adding the garage later or the fourth bedroom later. So there's options for people.
No, definitely. And I think one thing that I see quite a lot that I always think when I walk through the home is, I wish I would have, this home is beautiful, it's got every spec that you want, but the floor plan doesn't work. And so I think for that reason, it's so worthwhile sitting down with, whether it's your valuer or an agent who sees a lot of property, and just touching on, does the floor plan work?
Absolutely.
And you can actually save yourself a lot of money by doing so. But thank you so much for joining us today,
You're welcome.
Lisa. It's been great to have you here, and we'll catch you next week.